How many here have ever been to the crazy mirror room in the carnival? Well, what if that was the only source of information you had on your body? This weird caricature. I mean, it showed me without any hair, if you can believe it. See, most people's self-maps are a function of the social mirror. They live out of the social mirror and their memory. A mother the other day said to me, "I cannot believe my child." All of a sudden, she turned 17, and she's like a different person. I have never seen anyone so uncooperative, so rebellious, so angry, so unwilling to do anything to help us at home, or to even be open to influence at all. Now, what is happening to the map or the paradigm in her head? And what do you do when you have that? You act upon it. That is the image that you have in your head of this person. It's the map you have of this person. Now, someone could say to you, just as I did here, try harder. Try to be more positive. But as long as a person carries that map, that image of this other person in their head, they're going to treat them that way. As soon as they treat them that way, the tendency is for people to respond accordingly. It's called the self-fulfilling prophecy. People live up to the social mirror that surrounds them. Now, I said to this mother, notice how you see your daughter. Well, it's not how I see her, it's the way she is. Potentially, is she capable of so much more? Oh, yes, I know that. Why don't you see her in terms of her potential? Is not her potential part of the reality of her life? Isn't it really the larger part? Where the present manifestation, as she goes through, say, the emotional ups and downs of her teenage so-called identity crisis, you could live out of your imagination and out of a map, a paradigm, a view based upon her potential, which you deeply really believe in. Yeah, but what do I do with all this behavior and the totally unwillingness to cooperate, to do her part? Observe your paradigm. Observe the map you have of her. I remember I was in a situation like that. One of our teenage sons, just between the grade school and junior high, was just not performing. He wasn't adequate in any area. Athletically, people would fall apart with laughter watching. Almost swinging the bat before the ball was pitched. Academically, not only wouldn't do well on tests, couldn't even begin to take them. Socially, sometimes very embarrassing. Now look at the evidence we have. And Sandra and I, my wife, would talk about this. Well, maybe every family deserves their one. But we cared about this boy, and we were very worried. And I remember one time talking about this same subject in Armonk, New York. And I was talking about a study which opened up the whole field of what's called the self-fulfilling prophecy, where a computer in England called the Bright Group dumb, essentially. Here's the teachers. It's the Bright Group over here. You've got 120, 130 IQ. They love education. They love learning. You'll really enjoy them. This group here You can kind of tell when you just look at their faces. This group, they're very fine people too, but they don't have the same candle power, and you have to respect that. Now notice what's happening. I'm talking as if I'm describing reality, right? This is the way they are. And they buy it. And they act on it for a period of several months. In other words, it becomes their view, their paradigm. But you know what? Several months later, they discovered there was a computer mistake of some kind, and the two groups were switched. They immediately tested, without telling anything to anybody. This group here went up something like 18 points. This group went down 14 points. The self-fulfilling prophecy. Our self-maps, our self-paradigms, so much a function of the social mirror. A reversal based upon expectancy, paradigms, the mental representation, the maps held by these people. That is the significance of paradigms. And you notice how behavior and attitude flow out of how you see. Well, anyway, I was literally teaching this like I'm teaching you right now. And in my mind, I was thinking of my boy. Is it possible that the problem is in my paradigm? That the problem is with me, not my boy? Well, I talked with my wife when I returned home from that trip, and I said, you know, I'm just wondering if the social mirror from you and I are not major contributors to these difficulties and these problems, this lack of ability to cope. We found that we were to some degree trying to get social mileage out of our kids' good behavior. See, that was part of our motive, of what people thought of us about our children. We liked the way they would speak well of us because of the performance of our children. We worried what would happen if they didn't live up to it. We see what we seek. So we explored our motives and said, this is not what we seek. We began to see him differently. As a person precious in his own right, not to be compared with anyone else, not to get into the social mirror of comparison against timetable, social agenda. He could easily be a late bloomer with tremendous potentialities that does not test out well in some areas. We don't know. It's just a whole big area of potential. And we were trying to put labels upon it. You see what I mean by the tendency is to project out of our own experiences, like a home movie, to project it onto someone else and to label. But we never explored our own motive. We never became reflective and introspective. Things were going well with the others, but all of a sudden, something threw us out of our standard operating procedure, and we couldn't just easily gloss over by psyching him up with PMA stuff. Come on, think positively. You know, keep your eye on the ball when it comes now. All right, now, then you swing. That's okay, son, don't worry about it. Get off his back, you know. You made mistakes. Okay, you're all fine, son. Then privately we talk with each other, see, oh, what have we got here? Duplicitous, unprincipled, as if he had no intrinsic merit and worth. That was the hardest part of the therapy, was dealing with self, exploring our own paradigms, loosening them up. But when you try to have people, to possess them, to own them, and to have their performance reflect on your reputation, your basic motive structure drives the paradigm of how you see that person, because you'll see them through this social mirror frame of reference. And then you get into the self-fulfilling prophecy. Hopefully, our humility, our willingness to surface the assumptions we make about life and to challenge them has been stirred up, particularly when it comes to our maps of ourself of our loved ones, of our boss, of our work associates, of other people. And then, out of that humility, to say to the other person, how do you see it? What is your view? What is your perspective? What is your frame of reference? What is your opinion? And you constantly get a better sense of the way things are. You get a better and better paradigm.